I had been very stuck for about 7 years. And I know that sounds like a long time, but I was doing some counseling, just regular thought counseling, doing CBT, and I just wasn't getting past. The issue basically was really some medical trauma of being with my husband through so many medical emergencies. And I knew that was related probably to some other stuff. I kept hitting this wall of my husband's getting older. I don't want to outlive him, kind of not take care of myself, and eventually had to get a kidney transplant. Actually, he was just recovering from a kidney transplant when I took the EMDR course. So anyway, that was where the trauma kind of was laying with me, although it connected back to some older stuff.
Well, welcome to Conversations on the EMDR Way. So I'm Jordan Schaefer, and this is a chance for me to talk with people about what they're doing, things that they know about or have done that I find interesting and think are important, and I think you will too. So today I'm talking with Karen Carr. Karen is I think a licensed professional counselor, but not in private practice. But she's here to talk about her experience as a client having done EMDR. And so it's very interesting, actually. She ties together early life experiences where she had done counseling and other kinds of work. And I think it was good and helpful, but not quite complete for her. And then along the way, there was some medical trauma with her husband. And so that kind of got her, what she called, stuck. And emotionally stuck, I guess you'd say. So we talk about that, and then talk about how then EMDR basically helped her function better, give her more energy, and she can even point to one specific EMDR session that really helped her collapse all these memories, neural networks, life experiences that came together to where they not only lost their emotional charge, but also she got a whole new understanding. So it's a very powerful conversation. And interestingly enough, I never did find out who her she and her husband went to see at the House of Blues. You don't always get all the info, but here it is, a conversation with Karen Carr on her experience as an EMDR client. Well, I'm here with Karen Carr, and Karen graciously agreed to talk about her experience as a client doing EMDR. And so that's really appreciate that because people are interested, and partly if you would be curious if you've done other kind of counseling and then added EMDR, and if that made a difference, that kind of thing is what we're going for. But would you go ahead and introduce yourself, and we'll start with
Jordan. Okay, my name is Karen Carr, and I live in Oklahoma. I used to live in Texas. I am married 2 years, and I have 2 grown daughters. And I'm also a licensed professional counselor and have been one for about 30 years now.
Wow, okay. And you're trained in EMDR?
I am.
That's right. So
yes.
There you go.
I've been trained for almost 4 years now. I was very skeptical.
Oh, you were? Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, I was one of those skeptics. Yeah.
Oh.
One of those.
Oh. And you came down. You came out of town, I think. Didn't you do the
Yes, I sure did.
Training in Fort Worth?
2020. I did it virtually because it was during.
Oh, you did?
During
one of the first virtuals.
Yeah, okay. I sure did. So I learned how to do it online before in person. Pretty interesting.
And now you do both online and in.
I do.
Okay.
That's correct.
And you're skeptical, so I guess that tells me that the EMDR you did was after you took the training. Is that right or no?
Actually, as a client, I had been hearing about EMDR for a long time, and I believe as just a person and a therapist that it's very, very important to do your own. And so I've been in counseling, all different kinds of counseling for years. In and out, just for different reasons. So when I heard about EMDR at first, for about the first 10 years, I really did not think much of it. It wasn't something that I was in. But as it became more and more mainstream and I seeing other people, I thought, I may want to get trained in that. And if I'm going to get trained in it, I sure want to know what it is first. So I went ahead and, found a therapist that did EMDR and started in therapy before I ever even took the training.
Oh, you did the therapy before the training, but still you were skeptical when you took the training, or by that time?
No.
Okay.
Once I did the EMDR, I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a wonderful modality. This has helped me so much. And I not only want to continue it for myself, I want
I
to
see.
learn
Okay.
do that for others. So,
Okay. All right. So you'd heard about it, because
yeah,
I guess we all had, or as a therapist, you hear about these different
yeah,
things.
yeah. And at first it was kind of controversial and have a lot of information, and it wasn't mainstream yet. And so I didn't really want to, or even really think about doing it. But it wasn't until, I started seeing some other people that had used it, and I was like, I want to try this. I want to see what it can do for me.
Okay. And then, well, can you talk a little bit about what you worked on, or maybe did you do EMDR on something you'd already done regular counseling on? Can you compare the experience like that?
I had been very stuck for about 7 years. And I know that sounds like a long time, but I was doing some counseling, just regular, thought counseling, doing CBT, and I just wasn't getting past. The issue basically was really some trauma, medical trauma of being with my husband through so many medical emergencies.
Oh.
So, so I knew that was related probably to some other stuff. So, I kept hitting this wall of my husband's getting older. I don't want to outlive him. I want, kind of not take care of myself, and so that I can kind of get up to him, so that I'm not living a long time after him, because he's had problems throughout our marriage, and eventually had to get a kidney transplant. Actually, he was just recovering from a kidney transplant when I took the EMDR course. So, but anyway, that was where the trauma kind of was laying with me, although it connected back to some older stuff.
Yeah.
And
Now, when you say stuck, let's talk about that a minute. Because when people are stuck, what does stuck look like? I mean, I know the term, but when we're stuck for 7 years, what did that mean for you?
It was at times torment. Just this not being able to understand why I could not see a future beyond him, why I couldn't decide to have a life of my own. Why I couldn't. I mean, some of that I think I was developmentally going through some of the things you do when you hit, 50 and through there.
What do they call that? Midlife?
Yeah.
Okay, but basically thinking about what do I want to live after my husband? So do I have a life of my own past my husband? And then there are the feelings associated with that, right? Like, I guess the feeling of lack of motivation, lack of...
Yes.
Is that called a foreshortened future or something? Is that in there?
Something like that. Yeah, that sounds like that might. I really don't know.
Okay.
I just know for me it was really, and I tried to look back, and it passed up, and I had worked on different things, but it just kept being there. And it's I said it caused some problems in my life.
Okay.
Just not having the motivation to do things. I mean, I would still go through the work. I mean, it wasn't totally debilitating, but it was, you know, things I could have been doing, and I shut down a lot.
Okay.
So, and I just couldn't get it with the regular talk therapy.
And were you doing CBT, cognitive behavioral?
That was some of it. So probably, I would think probably during that time. Went to like 2 different counselors. Just couldn't quite get.
Well, I guess I was thinking cognitive behavioral is like changing your belief system, right? Your beliefs.
Right.
Were you
Right.
trying to do that? Convince yourself?
Was.
That's what
Yes,
I
I
was.
was. Yes. Yes, I was. I was trying to, um, I was like, okay, maybe this is grief. I'm changing my view about the separation and trying to have my own identity, which felt like I had. I tried to just thinking like, you don't what the future is going to hold, predict the future. Some of those thought processes that you tried to change.
Okay, and it basically didn't work.
It wasn't working.
It didn't keep you from being stuck, I guess.
That's correct. Not that being able to push through or find something that I could go ahead and why is this keep pulling me back, pulling me back, pulling me back.
And then a little bit curious, how did you meet had you been married a long time? Met your husband early?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Third grade or something?
Well, not that far back, but I was 19 when we got married.
Oh, you were?
And
Well, so yeah, you were.
yeah, and we now been married 42 years, so we've been together a long time. We've had a long life together and a good life.
And the medical problems, had they been there all along, or was there a point when they started?
Yes. Yeah, he has a genetic, it's passed down through his parents, kidney disease, and seem to have more problems than others in the family all throughout.
Oh.
And so it's been a lot of hospitals, and so I would find we would go into a hospital, or I knew we had an appointment, I would get really irritable, agitated, not want to go, agitated at him, those things too.
And now I'm stereotyping a little, so let's check it
That's
out.
okay.
Okay. So as a girl becoming a woman, was your identity into the idea of getting married and having a husband and kids, and we wasn't that?
No, actually.
No. Okay.
So. I would consider myself of that time that grew up with bra burning and all that stuff, and being a feminist, and very much, I'm going to do my own thing. You can come along for the ride if you want to. I'm very much my own person, very independent, and still consider myself that way. That's why this was so kind of like an Achilles heel. It's kind of like, what is going on?
Okay. In other words, it didn't fit really what you had.
Did not fit with my
ego identity.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I guess what would be the next piece to talk about, the EMDR processing, or?
Well, I think I want to mention that prior to that, I had done, years ago, I had done a lot of the codependency work, all that for a long time. I did a lot of that 12-step work with codependency. So I felt like I had done that where I had that real understanding of separation. So, I think that was some of the work that I did that helped, but I wasn't getting with that either. So I think that's important because, it does seem kind of symbiotic, and it does seem kind of enmeshed when I say, I did not want you living if he died.
And that was the main issue is that somehow you had this idea, knew clearly in your mind, some unconscious part of your mind, I guess, had made the decision, if he dies, I don't want to live after that. And that was like an unconscious decision.
And it was driving other things in my life, so.
It was driving how you felt, but also it was driving your
Behaviors, yes.
Did it, like with your daughters, did it impact that, or?
Yeah, I think so. And actually, my daughters helped me to kind of become even more aware of it. Because my husband he's 13 years older than me. And so, of course, as he's gotten older, he acts older, because he is old. And so they still do confront me and like, Mom, you're taking on Dad's behavior because he's doing this at 74 and you're 60 and you're trying to, you're kind of acting like him. And I'd be like, oh yeah, I think you're right. So just they kind of helped me see, and they helped me back then to say, whoa, what's going on, and so they're pretty good at confronting Mom when they see something that they think doesn't fit.
Okay. And there's another piece and we may not get into this, but there is this early childhood patterning that happens that probably laid the groundwork, and I'm childhood kind of things. But on top of that, then, you mentioned you did wasn't 12. What was it?
12-step codependency.
12-step kind of codependency programs. Yeah. So, but you did that, but it didn't really. I'm sure it helped, though, right?
Right.
But it didn't really make the shift you needed, right? Is what I'm hearing.
Well, not now. I mean, I think back then it helped me to understand, that there was a enmeshment in my family of origin. I did a lot of that work in that framework of going back and how did this fit? What was my role? Family? What?
Right. Had roles in families, and the enmeshment idea that things are bound emotionally together.
Right.
Scripting, I think we talked about. All right. But what I wonder, and we can come to it, is when you did the EMDR, was that there as something for the EMDR to draw upon? In other words, it came back around as a positive. I mean, one thing I do tell people is what the work you've done counts. The EMDR will really help it out. Was that your experience?
Yes. Okay. I mean, I think the groundwork was laid, in a lot of, the previous work I had done, because I'd done a lot of work. And I mean, and there were other trauma. We lost our first child. And so we've lots of counseling and grief work and stuff around that, and a lot of, work, going back and working through things from my childhood, just a lot of that work. So I think that really did lay the groundwork for me. But somehow EMDR, just almost like it's just collapsed it all together. I describe it almost like if it was an accordion of different things. And when I did the EMDR, it brought them together, and they had instant insight at multiple levels. So it was very powerful, that one session. And then there were others that I did, but in that one session, I think was when it really together, and I had that understanding where it came from. It was leveled, had a lot of different components and things, and it all just kind of together. And I was just taken aback. I literally like sat back in my seat, was just sobbing because so much of it came together.
Okay. Can you talk a little more about that session? Like, was it the first session, or
No,
how did it fit into the scheme of
yeah,
things?
yeah. So the lady I went to, the therapist, we took each other, and so there was rapport building, and there was time of kind of getting to know, real good assessment, and then we had started, the EMDR. I think this was probably about 3 sessions in.
Okay, so pretty quickly then.
Pretty quickly, yeah.
Based on what you know about EMDR, was she doing it correctly by the book?
I would say for the most.
Pretty good. Okay.
I didn't know then. I hadn't taken the training. I didn't know much about it that way.
Yeah.
I couldn't sit there and go, "Is she doing it right?" But whatever she did, it worked. So,
okay, well that helps.
yes,
Okay.
she did,
All
and
right.
she used the hand stimulators,
Okay.
pepper,
All right.
and really stayed out of the process. I mean,
She did. Well,
she
that's
did a
the
really
important part.
she did a really good job of staying out of the process and just encouraging me to continue, and see what comes.
Letting your brain do the work.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really good. Okay. Well, and can you talk though about maybe the targets you remember? Do you remember a little more about what you focused on, and be mindful of?
Yeah. I'm trying to think back exactly what the target was.
You got to know these things.
Isn't that funny how sometimes I can't remember?
Right.
But I know it had something to. Okay, I do know. So the target was a traumatic thing that happened. My husband and I, we had gone, or he had been sick on and off, but we had gone for our anniversary to Dallas. Got a hotel room for the weekend, and we had gone to the House of Blues. We were going to have, a nice dinner, go to a concert and stuff. And
who'd you see? We got to get the important parts.
Oh, I don't remember. We didn't get that far.
You didn't.
We didn't get that far.
Oh.
So I don't know if you've ever been there, but they have those really nice window seats that you can see out. So we didn't do the valet parking. We parked, and mind you, my husband knows downtown Dallas very well. Years ago, he used to live there. He knows Dallas. So we parked in this one spot, and it wasn't too far. We walked, and we were got seated, got our order done, and we were having a drink, or I was, he wasn't, and he said, I'm not real comfortable with that parking spot. I'm going to go and move the car because I don't want to get a ticket down here. I was like, oh, okay, I'll be here. So I'm sitting there, time's going away more and more and more, and I'm getting very nervous and scared. And
because he's taking a long time, you mean? Or
yeah, because he's taking a long time.
Okay.
And I'm not talking 15 minutes. I'm talking like our meal had already come. Like he's not. And so I went outside and I walked down, to where we had parked, and I didn't see him, and I looked all around, and I called his phone a couple times, and I couldn't find him. So of course I was kind of panicking, and I went to the manager of the restaurant, and she said, "Come on, well, she's like, we have some off-duty police officers that do security. I'm gonna help you, find what happened." And so they started searching for him, and I was searching, and they found him on like in the middle of the road, in their car, just sitting there, just kind of, and he was way in a different area. And so I went there to him and I was like, "Hun, you okay?" And he just kind of looked at me like, and he was like he didn't know, like he was lost, getting his thoughts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, we got him, moved the car and everything, and got him back to the hotel room. And he was disoriented, and he was, So I don't know exactly, but I think he broke at that point. But I was very terrified because I couldn't find him. He just wasn't. And so that was the target. That was the day that it really very traumatizing. Is that he's, and that wasn't the first time that I thought I had lost him. I mean, there'd been multiple times when he'd be hospitalized, that I thought he was going to die or, so that was the target.
Okay. And so basically you did the EMDR processing on that memory. And from that, it seemed like time that how would you say it? All the layers collapsed. They
did. Yeah, it was like the layers collapsed, and it made a connection to several different. It was about loss of fear, but it was also about protection. With all the males in my life. I mean, it was really like, gosh, it was about feeling very vulnerable, very unprotected. It was just that loss, and it involved husband and that incident. Other times that I thought he was going to die. My dad's death.
Okay.
It involved my brother having a stroke and not being able to, be there in the way that he has before. It involved a lot of different males, and I don't see myself as someone that's like, oh, I have to have male protection. But that apparently was there, and it was not. And it just kind of all came together, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't feel I've lost something. I've lost that male protection. And I think even things as a little girl. So, some abandonment.
That cut out. And even something as a little girl.
A little girl, yeah. That abandonment with my dad, emotionally. He was there physically providing, but he just wasn't there. So, it had multiple layers, just kind of like opened that up, and I understood. I had a instant. I had an instant understanding right there.
That. Well, now I'm no teacher, but I can't help myself. But basically, EMD, so eye movement. You were doing by handheld buzzers, right?
Right.
Fine.
Right.
And then the D though is taking the emotional charge out of it, and somehow I wonder if that emotional charge, which really is the fear, anger, grief, all of it held in the system, keeps it flying, keeps it apart. Really, I get maybe like a centrifuge, but the R then is when all that collapses. Then you get these new neural connections. I would say to where you get a new.
And it was such a relief. Like I was sobbing. I couldn't stop. And so I left the, counselor's office sobbing because I couldn't. Okay. And then I had such a relief and feeling good, like unstuck, that I was like, I'm going to take some time to process this and enjoy it. I don't want to go back and, so I didn't go back for a couple of months.
Oh, really?
Because I was feeling that good. I wanted to enjoy that moment. I wanted to give it space and time because I'd been.
Now, did your therapist follow up? Did she check?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. Of course. Yeah, she did.
Not all do, sometimes people don't, you do a session like that and then you don't see them again. Then you wonder, it's concerning. It can be.
Yeah, no, she did. And then her office would call, and see if I wanted an appointment. And I was like, no, I'm just, kind of still figuring this out. And I'm just enjoying it. I mean, it was just such a relief.
Isn't that interesting?
And then just such new energy. I mean, it opened up new energy for me that I hadn't had in years.
Oh.
And it really helped me move to a new place.
So how do you understand that? The more energy. What's your take on that?
Well, I didn't feel so weighed down. I mean, that was scary for a long time. And I just think that it felt heavy. It was heavy. I think that it fed depression. I think it fed anxiety, And so when that lifted, it was like almost like being on a drug. It was kind of a high, actually, because it had been there so long. And it's like, oh, wow, I've got this new energy. I've got this new, and all I wanted to do was just enjoy it.
Well, so I wonder if the what we're thinking is there's trapped feelings and emotions. There's this bad feeling of everything's being contained like that, but it takes energy to do that.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy.
Psychic energy.
Yeah, it was exhausting.
And so when that got freed up, when those connections resolved or whatever, then that energy that was being used to hold it in place to keep you functioning really was freed up. Do you think something like that could have happened?
That's what I believe. I mean, I believe
That's
that
what you believe.
It just felt like lodged.
And that broke up. It just felt like what?
Something came unlodged.
Felt like something came unlodged. Yeah. Okay.
And I was no longer burdened by it. I wasn't, kind of went over and over it. I mean, when you think that you don't want to live beyond a certain point, it's kind of hard to plan or so that was gone. And that freed up a new energy, a new hope, wanting to do things for the future, despite my husband's health, whether he lived or not. I could see if he find a way to continue living.
So I have two questions, and I'll forget them if I don't. I'll say them, and then we can come back.
Yep, go right.
One is if the effect it may have had on your husband, and did it free him up? And the other would be about what did you then go back finally to the therapist and do some more EMDR and whatever?
Yes, so definitely did. I did. I can't speak for how it affected my husband. I mean, I think that.
Okay.
I shared most of it with him, even though it was hard because I know, I don't want him to feel like he's been a burden.
Okay.
I mean, I know we're a burden on each other. We're married, but it's different when you have an illness for as long as he has and, have to live with that. And he had been on dialysis years before he got the kidney. So, he's been through a lot. I call us medical warriors.
So, but I just wonder if it freed him up in a way, even energetically.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's hard to tell.
Hard to tell. Okay. Well, okay.
Yeah. He would have to do that. I mean, I can't specifically remember. I mean, I think that he was very glad and happy for me. I knew that. Okay. I knew that he knew I had been stuck. And I think that he was very relieved because I wasn't. And he knows me better than anybody in this whole wide world. He knows me. And he knows that that's not me. I'm pretty optimistic, like to, forward thinking. I'll be, on the edge of things sometimes. And progressive, and he could see that was not me.
Was there a point in time where you became not you, to where you worried about him not wanting to live past his death?
Yeah.
Is there an instant in time for that, or it may have been gradual?
I think it was gradual. I think, like I said, that incident in Dallas was really a defining moment. There was another moment where he would get really sick. There was another moment when we came home one day, me and my kids, and he had been trying to water line in our back bathroom, and I don't know what happened. He was sitting there in his underwear. Our house he was not oriented, and we had to, have the house flooded, but also get emergency because he wasn't okay, and get him in the hospital. So that was another incident, another time in the hospital when we prepared the kids for him to die.
Okay. Now some of that broke up a little bit. So he was in the bathroom doing something on the top.
He was trying to shut the water line.
It's trying to shut the water line off in the bathroom.
Instead, he unhooked it, and he was out of it. I mean, he was just in there like, he didn't know where he was, who he was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that cut out.
Yeah, yeah. So and then the house flooded.
The whole house flooded? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And we had to take him, and he was in the hospital about 2 months.
Are you the one that found him?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Like coming home from work, or were you there?
No, I was out with my kids and my nephew. They were teenagers, young teenagers, and we had been out doing something fun, like movies or something. We all come back, we're walk in the house and start seeing water, and went back there and back bathroom, in there with water all around him, sitting on the toilet in his underwear, and he just didn't know what was going on.
Oh,
and I don't know, he had a serious infection at that time, and possibly a stroke. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was another big.
Yes.
So there were major incidents in terms of
incidents over time. And within that same incident, I think they kind of run together, but in that same incident, he was so sick, and they weren't figuring out what was going on. They just weren't getting to it. And every ologist involved, and he had to put ICU really quick one night, and they really didn't think he was going to live.
Oh, okay.
So, at that time, I started preparing my daughters and myself for him to die. Like, our minister came. We, we had everybody that we know, but was really like, girls, I don't think Dad's going to make it. We got to prepare ourselves, and so that happened, and then fortunately, and then he also wanted to die. He was ready to die. He was begging to die, and but he ended up getting.
And how do you feel right now talking about this? What's anything?
I still feel like I'm here. I'm present. I don't feel like I'm checking out.
Right.
I've done a lot of work with the EMDR, and I think I think it's amazing. I see it as a miraculous thing, and just try to enjoy the time that we have and not be so burdened, heavy stuff from it.
Well, just in that alone, you've talked about two major incidents, and emotionally you're still here. You're not off in your
Right.
maladaptive
Exactly.
neural networks being activated, it seems. So that's
Yeah, that's a gift. That's a gift.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the EMDR. Well, we'll give credit to EMDR, but that's part of the process, right? To resolve those memories, the emotional components of it.
Exactly. And release it. And I call cleaning it out, cleaning it out.
Right.
Making new ones.
Still, I didn't forget. So now let's go. So you went back to the therapist, is that right?
Yes.
A few more times, or because you did more processing?
Yeah, I did more processing on his health and our marriage and how, and what that could be like for me, and then kind of felt like I just resolved that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and did some other specific EMDR related to some other traumas about being in tornadoes, because I had been in multiple tornadoes throughout my life as a child and as an adult, and used to panic. I mean, when I could smell the weather, or I would go into a full panic attack, rational thought, and now I don't.
So you could smell the weather. That's interesting, isn't it? You could smell the storm.
If you've ever been in a tornado, and the tornado-y smell, and you have that, it's part of who I am. I mean, and so knowing what the sky looks like, and actually, I think my mom was in a tornado when she was a child, and I think that her spidey senses of that is what really probably saved our lives when we were in our tornado. So, because she made sure that watched the weather very closely. Everybody knew that if anybody was going to be in this cellar, it was going to be my mom. And so that our house and our town got hit, we were in the cellar. So, so I think that I did, but yes, it's color. There's a lot that, and it brings up all those feelings, or it did. Not as much now. I mean, every once in a while it still can, but we've had I've been in another tornado since then. So yeah, I was able to really go back and work through that as a young kid experiencing that.
Did you target that specifically? Do you remember?
I did. Yes, we went. I mean, I talked about the other tornadoes I had been in, but we went back. Yeah. And because and it was kind of long, but there had been a tornado about 7 miles from our house here to live, probably 4 years ago or so. And it really triggered a bunch in me. And so I called my therapist that day because I was just not okay. And had really regressed. And she recognized that. And really helped me get to that safe place and get calmed down and back to, my rational self. She was like, I think we need to do EMDR, go back to the early experience. And we did.
Yeah. So, I hear that as your autonomic nervous system got activated under the level of consciousness. What comes to awareness, I guess you could say, are the symptoms.
Yeah, exactly.
Panicky feeling, anxiousness.
Yeah.
But it's those memories that are activating it.
That are activated.
The emotional memories, not even the thought, really.
Right.
It's the feeling, body sensations, all that.
Wow. Smell, all of it.
The smell.
Really, really powerful. Mm-hmm.
I guess I've never smelled a storm.
You never smelled a tornado you smell?
I don't think so, no. I mean, I know when the air's water, you can kind of feel the air, but not I have to work on that. You could.
Well, I hope
I don't smell it.
I hope you never smell it.
I don't either. Okay. All right. Well, anything to add? I mean, this is great. Thanks.
I just, as someone that was very skeptical, I didn't go in like, oh, this isn't going to work. It wasn't like that. It was just, how does this work? It was really just an interest. And then going through and being trained and learning about it and using it as a modality. Some really life-changing things happen through EMDR. And then as somebody that's been, pretty much in my adult life, maybe through my late 20s all the way till now, I've been in and out of different types of therapy.
Yeah.
See it be that effective. I mean, that's a very powerful modality.
Yeah. And that's not negating the other therapy either. That's what I really want to emphasize. Yeah, you're not.
Yeah. I mean, it was a combination, but to be able to, was for me, that's all I can speak for, is for me, it was very powerful and very helpful.
And one thing I thought about, and I'll come back to it, I didn't want to, layer it in when you talked about it, but one idea I have about EMDR is there are these, the neural network, is the AIP model it's called, but basically, and they're separated by time. But time's really an illusion. Time is an agreement that we all have. There's something called time, but really,
there's something called time. Yeah.
But time is
common language.
It's in the language, but there are these neural networks, really, imprints that are hanging together, and they're in different layers based on time. Like this happened when I was a kid. This happened when I was 20. This happened, right? So, but they're all kind of strung together.
They're all connected. Yes, it all came together, and it all had that collapsing feeling, like in a good way.
The idea is that when you do the EMDR like that, it sucks time out of the equation.
That makes sense.
That's the collapsing. It sucks time out of the equation. There is no time. This all happened now. And
thank you for explaining that to me, because I wondered. It's been hard to get the language, what happened. And that was the only, but thank you for explaining it to me, because that now makes a lot of sense to me, that, you take time out of the equation, it is going to come together.
It's the same. Yeah. Okay. Well, good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the other thing is, as a therapist, I would never ask you what concert you went to. But because this is just an interview, I got to ask the question. And I'm still wondering, though. You don't remember?
Say that again. I'm sorry. What concert?
The concert. No, the...
what concert I went to. Oh, okay. Well, mind you, we never got to...
Well, I know,
but that never happened. It wasn't anybody really big.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it wasn't anybody really big. It was just somebody, it seems like some, not local, but regional maybe, that was there that we were going to see. So
all right. Okay. Well, we probably need to wrap up. So thanks a lot. This is great, huh? And I think it'll help other people hear about EMDR and how it works. So
yeah, I would want to other people, if it can be effective and work within their other counseling that they've done, and and sometimes just as alone, I would encourage them to try it, because you never know until you try, and then it be very effective.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Karen. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jordan. It was good to see you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye. Yeah. Bye.